Hey guys, I am back, and today what I'm going to go over with you is how to do a easy no seam circle skirt. Now I have to put a little disclaimer out here. Depending on your measurements as well as the length that you want your skirt, you may have to actually put seams in it opposed to a no seam skirt. This skirt originally, which is called a circle skirt, this skirt you see on a lot of little girls, especially because they can definitely, you could do a pattern for them with no seam whatsoever. But there are some adult skirts as well where you can do no seam. It all depends on your measurements as well as the width of the fabric. Okay, that's what it's dependent on, is basically your preferences. Okay, so hopefully I'm pretty sure mine is going to come out with no seam, but let's see. Okay, so very first thing you want to do, I already have, you're looking at the wrong side of my fabric. You see it's really vibrant, but I have it folded, and I have it folded twice. So the first thing I did was fold my fabric in half, then I folded it again. Okay, so I folded it double. What you want is this corner right here. So this corner, you should only see the folds. So there should be a fold going down the side and just the top fold, and all of the openings are on the bottom, if that makes sense. Okay, so the three measurements that you need the waist measurement, the hip measurement, and then whatever the length is that you want your skirt. Okay, if you want it to come to your knees, you'll do from your waist to your knees. If you want it to come, to your ankles, you'll do from your waist to your ankles. So that's what I mean by the length of what you want your skirt. All right, so I already have those measurements. What we're going to do, because I'm going to do an elastic waistband for this one, we are going to take the hip measurement. Okay, we're going to take the hip measurement and we are going to divide that by 6.28. Okay, divided by 6.28. I'm not going to get heavy into a breakdown. Just know that when you're dealing with circles, when you're dealing with measurements and circumferences and all of that kind of stuff, this is the formula. Okay, you divide by 6.28. And then whatever number you get, what you're going to do is you're going to take your measuring tape and you're going to go back to this corner that I was speaking of, and you're going to go down whatever number you get. For me, that number was 6. So I'm going to make little marks so you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to keep the top of my measuring tape held down to this corner, okay? Exactly at the tip of that corner. And I'm just going to mark 6. All the way around, I'm going to mark 6. So if you're looking, I'm doing this with chalk for instructional purposes. This is what it looks like. Okay, so it's 6 from here to here. Now, before you get to cutting, keep in mind, as I told you, I already did my measurements. This is where your opening of your skirt is going to be. So your body, your waist is going to be right in this area. So this, starting here, will be your waist down to whatever you want it to be. Make sure that it is the right length, okay, and that your skirt doesn't come out too short. All right, so you're going to do that same curve technique. So for me, I'm going with just the length of the fabric. So as you can see, it's at 16, and of course I'm going to have to cut this off, but I'm going to use this right now just as a guide. I'm going to leave that on. So because mine come to 16 on this side of the fabric where I have my folds, all the way around, I'm going to go 16, and I'm going to do that same chalk technique. Let me show you. So see here, I don't have to mark it, but when I get up in here, I do. So it's going to curve literally like that. Okay, so let's get all the way. Make sure you hold that measuring tape tight. Do whatever you got to do because you want to make sure that it comes out even. The circle skirt is so beautiful. You want to make sure that it comes out even. Make sure that your fabric is laying flat. Okay, almost there. And if I'm spacing out my marks quite a bit, but if it's too hard for you to see, then do more marks, okay? So let me just show you what mine look like once I connect all of those marks. Okay, can we see that? You could kind of see it in there. Trying to make sure you guys can see this line right here. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Let's readjust the camera so that you can see it. This is what it looks like. Okay, so you see my cutout up here, and then you see my mark here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut both of those, and I'll show you what I got. So this is what it looks like, you guys. This is the circle skirt, and I'm just going to open it up so that you can see what it looks like. It's all one piece, one big old piece. And this circle in the middle, this is where your body is going to be, okay? It should be a perfect circle if you use that formula. And then all of this is the actual skirt. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. I'll show you. Some of you guys are familiar with a circle skirt and what it looks like. So it's going to just be kind of ruffling up in here. It's going to flow so beautifully. So let's keep going, okay? All right, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut my waistband. So I just kind of took the scraps from what was left. And by the way, I had about 2.5 yards of fabric, okay, because that's what I needed for my skirt, and I like to get a little bit extra. So what I'm going to do, we're going to put elastic in this skirt, all right? So I'm taking the hip measurement, not the waist measurement, you guys, because you should be able to pull this skirt straight up. Okay, step into it. There's no buttons, there's no zippers, there's none of that. So you want to make sure that you're doing the right measurement. Don't do your waist measurement, because think about it, your hips are bigger than your waist. If you try to squeeze your hips into your waist, what's going to happen? Okay, so I'm going to show you what you do. You do the fabric in your hip measurement, and your waist measurement is going to be with the elastic. Okay, so that's a little tip for you when you're working with anything with elastic. Okay, so I just basically, I found a fold somewhere and I doubled it, and I have my measurement here. And then as far as the width of my waistband, my elastic is 2 inches. So what I did was double this and then add 1 inch. So this entire width is 5 inches. Okay, I like using the 2-inch elastic. If you're going to use something bigger, like a 3-inch elastic, do the same thing. Double it and then add 1 inch. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this waistband cut, and let's keep going. Okay, so the next step is I added about an extra inch. So I actually put a stitch in here, and then I took my iron and I pressed my seam open. Okay, another thing I did was I went ahead and I cut the elastic the exact length of my waist. Okay, so if I put these up against one another, you see that they don't come to the same length. Okay, that's the difference between the waist and the hips. So I have my elastic cut, I have my waistband cut. Now this is the easy part, and we're about to go ahead and finish this thing up. You're going to fold the waistband down all the way around, okay? You're going to fold it, so it's going to look like this. And then you're just going to line this up with the circle of the skirt, that inside cut, which is your hips, remember? And it should fit perfectly. You're going to sew it, and you're going to leave about a 3-inch opening so that you can run your elastic through. I'll show you how to do that. All right, guys. So if you're doing this exactly as I'm stating, okay, your waistband should have fit perfectly. Okay, it should have fit perfectly. And as you can see, I left my opening. But as for all the rest of it, see that waistband? I literally just went the width of the foot of my sewing machine to sew that. And you have a little opening in here that you're just going to serge that right on off. But I left an opening in here. Now what I'm going to do is run my elastic through here, okay? It's really, really easy. All you need is your elastic that you cut for your waist, and you need a safety pin. All right, guys, so this is what I did here. I was meaning to tell you, find the biggest safety pin as you possibly can. I have a really, really big one, and I couldn't find it for some reason. But anyways, I put my safety pin on one end of my elastic. And another thing I did, because it can be kind of tricky running your elastic through, I put 2 chalk marks on my elastic, because once you run it all the way through, you're going to end up stitching it together, and you want it to lay flat like this. This is for me to know, okay, you're back at your starting point, and make sure that those 2 chalk marks touch. Okay, that's a little trick. You'll see once you start fishing this elastic through there, sometimes it can get tangled. I mean, everything has happened to me once before. So let me show you how to do this. I'm going to go to the opening in my skirt, and I'm going to go to the opening of the waistband here, and I'm just going to straighten my elastic, get it as straight as possible, and I'm just going to lay it in here. And we're just going to run it through. And you're going to take your fingers and do this move right here to push that elastic through there. And you're going to go all the way around the waistband till you get to your starting point. Line those 2 chalk marks back up, and you're going to stitch the elastic together. So the next thing you're going to see is exactly that. So I brought that back around. My elastic is back around. You see, it faded a little bit, but both of my chalk marks are there. I'm about to take the safety pin out just because I don't want my needle to hit it. And I'm going to do a zigzag stitch, okay? I'm going to do a loose zigzag stitch. So I'm going to do this one right here. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and the end of your elastic. This is going to close it off, and we are almost done. The angle, I have this in my lap now. So I have this stitched, and I just cut it evenly. And then the next move is to just do this little move right here, and it pops that elastic right on up in there. You should see some scrunching up happening. That's because of the elastic and the hip measurement, okay, you guys? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to close this up. Now, it should be pretty self-explanatory how to close this up, but let's go through it. You have the front end of your waistband, right? You have your elastic. You have the back end of your waistband, right? So both of these together make up your waistband, and then you have the actual skirt. So you're going to take all 3 of those, and you're going to line them up just like you did the first go around, and you can pin it, and then you're just going to catch up with the other seam that you already had in there when you originally attached the waistband and the skirt. Don't get your elastic. So you want to push that in there. You don't want to fold it or anything. It should lay pretty good because you had an extra 1 inch of allowance, okay? So we're just going to line up the fabric alone, those 3 pieces of fabric, and we're going to sew. You can go back around the original stitch if you like. Go all the way back around the whole skirt. I like to do that sometimes just for extra safety precautions. But this will close up the waistband, you guys. And then all we have to do is finish the bottom. I hope that your skirt turned out as good as mine did if you followed the instructions. I love how it looks. And I went ahead and serged the insides once I finished up my seams. I did it in a different color so that you guys could see it, but typically I would go with a contrasting color. But it's all cleaned up. Last thing are the ends. Okay, now for me personally, I am going to use a bias tape. I didn't know if I needed 1 or 2 of these, but I grabbed a few of them, and I'm going to actually put a bias tape, a trim, basically around the edges of my skirt. If you've never used bias tape, you guys, it's really, really easy. It's already trimmed. If you can see it, it's already trimmed. You just sandwich your fabric in between it. You put it all the way around. You leave a little excess so that you can close it off properly instead of overlapping it. But check this out. You just sandwich your fabric in there. And I always leave a little bit extra because I want to put my beginning and my ends together, kind of like we did with the waistband, and close it off properly instead of having it to overlap. All right, so that's all I'm going to do. If you don't like the bias tape on the bottom of yours, you can always hem it. It is a little bit difficult to hem the circle, so what I suggest, if you're going to hem it, use an iron and go ahead and press it all the way around with the double fold, then iron it, and that should save you a lot of time. All right, next you are going to see pictures of the final product. If you want to do the skirt exactly as I did, I will go ahead and show you how I do the bias. If you look all the way up here where my thumb is, I left an opening. Okay, so I left about 1 inch before I start sewing, because when I take this bias all the way back around, it's going to attach here. And I'm going to leave another opening. I'm going to put those together, sew the insides, fold it back down, and that way it's a clean stitch. But all I'm literally doing with the bias, you open it up, you put your fabric in between, you fold it over like this, and I'm literally stitching this all the way around to the bottom of the skirt. All right, to show you guys what I was talking about with my bias, okay, I'm almost finished. I'm at the last end of finishing up my skirt, and I left an opening. Okay, I already back stitched this, so I'm going to open up my bias all the way to the single fabric. Okay, then I'm going to take my other end, this was my starting piece, and I'm going to do the same thing, open it all the way up. Then I'm going to line those two up together, matching the fold, and I'm going to do a small stitch in here. Then it's all going to be one piece. I can go around my skirt and finish that up. Okay, so I hope that makes sense.